I'm Jack Bradley, filling in for Steve Lance tonight, and we begin with breaking news. Over the past hour, the Senate voting to confirm Jay Bhattacharya as director of the National Institutes of Health. The vote was 53 to 47 along party lines. Bhattacharya has been echoing the Make America Healthy Again agenda led by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Meanwhile, in a bipartisan vote today, Michael Kratsios was confirmed to be director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy. And President Trump says no classified information was shared, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz shouldn't apologize for an accidental leak of Houthi strike plans to a reporter. It comes as Democrats question the administration's handling of information, while Waltz says he's never contacted that reporter. NTD's Iris Tao has more from the White House.
It's just something that can happen. It can happen.
Attending a Tuesday meeting, President Trump blames the latest security leak on what he calls imperfect technology and limitations officials face when they're just not able to sit face-to-face in a secure space.
That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the Situation Room.
It comes as some Democratic lawmakers are demanding resignations of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and even Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Had that information gotten to the Houthis, American pilots could have been shot down.
That's after the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic was inadvertently added to a Signal chat group where top officials were discussing plans to strike the Houthis. But the president standing by his national security advisor.
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
And Waltz stressing he's never talked to that reporter before, saying they will look into how he even got in.
I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room.
Earlier on Tuesday, President Trump said it's one of Walz's staffers who was on Walz's phone and added that magazine editor. The president also criticized the media, alleging
they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months.
The White House, meanwhile, is emphasizing the success of the Houthi strikes earlier this month, saying the point is that they killed terrorists who targeted U.S. troops and vessels. When it comes to the Signal app, though, President Trump says the administration might not use it much going forward, adding that there will be a probe looking into how secure this encrypted messaging app really is. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
President Trump today's taking several executive actions on a wide range of issues, including a memo requiring the FBI to declassify documents related to the Crossfire hurricane probe. Now, the investigation kicked off in 2016. It was seeking information on whether members of the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to secure the election victory. The probe wrapped up without providing any incriminating evidence. Also today, President Trump signed an executive order with a focus on election integrity. The order seeks to eliminate illegal immigrants from voter rolls by requiring proof of citizenship on voter registration forms. States that don't comply with the order will see a decrease in federal funding. And the clock is ticking on Republican lawmakers to meet their self-imposed deadline to pass a big budget bill packed with Trump's policies. NTD's Melina Weiskup has the update.
House and Senate Republicans are tasked with finding unity on which budget plan will ultimately carry President Trump's priorities on taxes, energy policy, border security, and more. Remember, both chambers passed separate budget resolutions with different fiscal frameworks, but the leaders from both chambers never worked out which one would ultimately take the lead. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's in close talks with Senate Republican leader John Thune to find consensus. All of them meeting at the White House this afternoon to discuss. Here's Johnson.
We're all united on the mission, and there's been different ideas about how to complete the mission, but I think it's all coming together now. This week will be pivotal. We have a big meeting at the White House later today with the leaders in both chambers, Republican leaders, to unite and get this thing done.
Speaker Johnson says he wants to pass this budget reconciliation bill by Easter at the earliest, but told reporters that it's not a big deal for them if they're not able to meet that self-imposed deadline, because he says they're still working as fast as they possibly can, now throwing another factor Into the mix is the House Freedom Caucus. Now, some members of this caucus, they want to make sure all of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act is ripped away as part of this reconciliation bill. Then remember, House Speaker Mike Johnson is carrying a very slim majority in Congress, so every proposal put forth carries weight and carries the possibility of whether or not this budget reconciliation process can move forward. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
For more on the reconciliation bill, we're joined by Indiana Congressman Marlin Stutzman. Congressman Stutzman, thank you so much for joining us. You were at the White House today over the budget reconciliation process. First off, what came out of that?
Well, Jack, great to be with you. And yeah, we've had a lot of discussions just recently with the budget reconciliation package that we've passed out of the budget committee and then through the House floor, which was a big lift. And, there's been this discussion about a one bill or two bill strategy. And we were able to pass it out of the House of Representatives as the one big beautiful bill, as President Trump likes to talk about it. And but I think that that's really the strategy that we need to have moving forward, because there's so many important pieces that are in the budget reconciliation package that need to really stay together and work together. You have the tax rate extensions. The Trump tax cuts are set to expire at the end of this year. And so there's that's part of it. And then you have $2 trillion in cuts and savings and reforms that are a part of that package. And of course, then you have energy production and the border wall and making sure that our military has the funding that it needs to advance the military operations and the readiness for future conflicts, potential conflicts, and of course China being the biggest threat. But I think that what the Senate, as they're working through this, need to realize that we got it done through the House already. Don't change up a lot of this, because if they can pass it, they sometimes have a larger majority than what we do in the House, but if they can pass it pretty much what we have, we're going to get to the finish line much quicker. So there's a lot of work to still be done, but I think that the more we stick together around the package that passed through the House of Representatives, the more we'll be unified. And President Trump likes that package, and so hopefully the Senate will move on that.
And how confident are you that House Republicans will stay united and vote for the $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion in spending cuts?
Well, we've all voted for it already. Of course, as the details come through the committees of jurisdiction, there's going to always be something that I'm sure members aren't going to like. But, we're never going to get it exactly the way that we want it either, nor should anybody. We all have to give here a bit. We had a businessman, Ray Dalio, come in to visit with us today, and he, of course, wrote a book about countries going broke. And his message to us was very stern. We have to get control of our debt and our deficits, and to do that, it's going to start with spending cuts. And so what the DOGE team is doing is a huge benefit, not only to the American people, but also to members of Congress, because it gets us that much closer to how to understand where our tax dollars are literally going. And so the work that Elon Musk and the team are doing at the Treasury is a huge benefit right now. But as Mr. Dalio was saying, if we don't do something within the next 3 years to 5 years, it could be a disaster, and especially if a recession would hit. So he didn't say that everything we are doing is perfect, but he's like, you guys are going the right direction. It's got to be a growing economy and cuts in spending as well. And also we have to deal with the interest and the debt service that we currently that we're obligated to on this $36 trillion of debt. It's just not sustainable.
Right, but there may be concern among some Republicans that too much is being cut that may impact midterms. Where will the cuts be coming from, and will they touch Medicare benefits, for instance?
Well, I think that those decisions are still going to be made over time. Like I said, with the DOGE team doing their work and the information that they're giving to Congress, it really gives us better guidance on where can we find savings. I mean, Elon Musk believes that he can find $1 trillion in savings. I mean, if that's possible, that's a game changer. So I think it's a little bit of wait and see while the DOGE team does their work. But at the same time, there's already things that we know that can be cut or reformed. But also just look at the action that President Trump is taking with the elimination of the Department of Education, with the closing up USAID for now until they can really dig through the spending that's been just exposed by DOGE, and that what are the needs there. And of course, all of the other action that President Trump is taking. So Trump is leading on this, and I think over time, this will all gel together and come together. As Speaker Mike Johnson said, we would like to have it done by Easter, but it doesn't have to be. Let's make sure we get good information as we do make those cuts in the cost of the federal government. So I think we'll all be better for it. A little bit of patience here is going to be good, but at the same time, we know that the time that the budget expires in September will be here before we know it.
And I guess the next big question would be, and the last topic I'd like to talk to you about is, will there be an increase in the debt ceiling or pass it in a separate bill?
Well, that was also part of the budget reconciliation package. Trump has asked us to increase the debt ceiling now, so that way it doesn't, become something that is used by the Democrats down the road. And so, while we generally, and I've always have fought against raising the debt ceiling because of spending, we also know that it's a different day with President Trump in office rather than President Obama when I was here before. So, I supported raising the debt ceiling simply because it's kind of like, I'm a business guy. And so whenever you take over a struggling business, you go in and the old management is gone, but the leftover bills that the management committed the company to are still there. Now, unless you file bankruptcy, you still have to pay those bills. And I think in this case here, we can do this. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, grow the economy, and protect the border, make sure our military is strong, unleash our energy production ability, and then also find cuts in spending. And so it's definitely there. We know instinctively that the federal government is bloated, and that it always spends money on things that we don't need. And so I think as that time all comes together between the House and the Senate, I trust that it really, a lot of this depends on what the Senate's actions are on the reconciliation package. But if they would go along with the one bill strategy that we've done in the House, I think we can get there. And so that, we're going to pay the old bills, but move forward with new policy and new priorities for our spending, and make sure that we get America back on course where we need to be.
All right. Congressman Marlin Stutzman, thank you very much for your insights here today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack. Good to be with you.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.